No, but it would not be one of the options that I favor unless, number one, the cost can get down for the construction and operation. Number two, that we have a viable solution for the nuclear waste. I voted against Yucca Mountain. I've spoken out against Yucca Mountain. I think that recently the discovery there's an earthquake fault going under the proposed site at Yucca Mountain certainly validates my opposition. So there are a lot of very difficult questions. But we're going to have to look at the entire energy profile in order to determine how we're going to move away from our dependence upon carbon-based fuels. And I will look at everything, but there's some tough questions you'd have to answer with respect to nuclear.
I want to move to another subject, and this involves a comment that a guest on Meet the Press made. And I want to read it as follows. Imagine the following scenario. We get lucky. We get the number 3 guy in Al-Qaeda. We know there's a big bomb going off in America in 3 days, and we know this guy knows where it is. Don't we have the right and responsibility to beat it out of him? You could set up a law where the president could make a finding or could guarantee a pardon. President Obama, would you do that as president?
America cannot sanction torture. It's a very straightforward principle and one that we should abide by. Now, I will do whatever it takes to keep America safe. And there are going to be all sorts of hypotheticals and emergency situations, and I will make that judgment at that time. But what we cannot do is have the President of the United States state as a matter of policy that there is a loophole or an exception where we would sanction torture. I think that diminishes us, and it sends the wrong message to the world.
Senator Biden, would you allow this presidential exception?
No, I would not, and I met up here in New Hampshire with 17 4-, 3-, and 4-star generals who, after my making a speech at Drake Law School pointing out I would not under any circumstances sanction torture, I thought they were about to read me the riot act. 17 of our 4-star and 3-star generals said, Biden, will you make a commitment you will never use torture? It does not work, and it's part of the reason why we got the faulty information on Iraq in the first place, because it was engaged in by one person who gave whatever answer they thought they were going to give in order to stop being tortured. It doesn't work. It should be no part of our policy ever.
Senator Clinton, this is the number 3 man in Al-Qaeda. We know there's a bomb about to go off, and we have 3 days, and we know this guy knows where it is. Should there be a presidential exception to allow torture in that kind of situation?
You know, Tim, I agree with what Joe and Barack have said. As a matter of policy, it cannot be American policy, period. I met with those same 3- and 4-star retired generals, and their principal point, in addition to the values that are so important for our country to exhibit, is that there is very little evidence that it works. Now, there are a lot of other things that we need to be doing that I wish we were. Better intelligence, making our country better respected around the world, working to have more allies. But these hypotheticals are very dangerous because they open a great big hole in what should be an attitude that our country and our president takes toward the appropriate treatment of everyone. And I think it's dangerous to go down this path.
The guest who laid out this scenario for me with that proposed solution was William Jefferson Clinton last year. So he disagrees with you.
Well, he's not standing here right now.
So there is a disagreement.
Well, I'll talk to him later.
Well, that raises a question. Which foreign policy decisions of the Clinton administration were you involved in or did you advise?
Well, I have always said that my husband and I started a conversation 36 years ago, and it never stopped. So I was certainly involved in talking about a lot of what went on in terms of the president's decisions. But I know very well that the president makes the decision. Everyone in the White House is there because of one person, the president, including the spouse of the president. And ultimately, the president has to sift through everything that is recommended and make her decision. And what I believe is that it's the ultimate responsibility of a president to seek out a broad cross-section of advisors who will have different points of view and provide different perspectives, and that's what I intend to do, and that is certainly what my husband did as well.
Anyone else want to disagree with President Clinton on torture?
Yes, I do.
Well, listen,
Go ahead,
Well,
Senator Dodd.
not only do I disagree, but this was all part of the Military Commissions Act, which was adopted last fall. There were only a handful of us that voted against it at the time, and I've written legislation to overturn it. I'll offer no better witness here than John McCain, who said that during those terrible years he was incarcerated and tortured, he would say anything to those interrogators in order to stop the physical pain. So we need to reinforce the idea here. This is a dreadful way to collect information. We need to do other things to make sure it happens. But walking away from international conventions, as we did with the Geneva Conventions, to disallow the restrictions on torture, I think is a mistake, and also to walk away from habeas corpus. But leadership requires you try and do something about it. And I'm doing something about it by trying to get the Congress to overturn that legislation.
Governor Richardson, this is an exception for a president to offer a pardon to someone or to do a presidential finding because it's someone who knows about